There's a lot of good personalisms out there. I'm a person who's actually, or I'm someone who is more open to personalism than some other people. But yeah, I mean, look, it's like you could just do. I was just talking to my students today. It's like think of what are the two central mysteries of Christianity? It's the Trinity and the Incarnation. What is first, front, and center in both of those? Well, persons are. Because how is this one God but three persons? How is this two natures and one person? So you and I don't think, I think it took a long time. I'm aware of the history. I talk a lot about that over the councils and debates, etc. So it unfolds. You see it unfold. But one of the things that's very clear is that at some point, and maybe Zedulus wasn't quite right to put it all in the 4th century, but later on, by some point, it's very clear that, look, we're making this distinction at central moments of our confession, of our faith, about the person versus nature or essence, or however you run that. What is a person? Right? And that itself, there's a temptation to make that into a new abstract quest for the universal definition or essence of person. But that's exactly not what we're doing.
It's a reflection from his orientation of love for the poor.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
That so often theology starts from the non-personal or abstract, and then we start building ethics of how we build to love people, instead of John Baer touches on this with how he understands we needed to grow into becoming a true person through laying down our lives in love. And then that's the crucifixion, the sacrifice of Christ, both the exemplar and the empowering us to become that, I think, is where we start, and then we build theology from that, which is how the Christology builds.
Yeah.
We don't get Trinity without reflecting on the resurrection.
Right.
It's through the meditation of Christ that then we contemplate these other dimensions or facets.
Yeah, exactly. And so really, Christianity, one other way, it's sort of, again, it's maybe overly simplistic but somewhat provocative way to put it is, whereas I think a lot of different paths are looking for the absolute truth, Christianity thinks that the absolute truth is not having to choose between finitude or infinitude, history or metaphysics. Or maybe put it this way, love of God and love of neighbor. Both are absolute.
Yes.
And the reason why that's not a contradiction or just a sort of avoidance of the question is because in the Incarnation, God is your God and your neighbor in himself. So and he himself becomes the identity of these otherwise irreconcilable absolutes. Right. Do we identify ourselves more with our particularities or with our sort of universal, like, humanity or human nature or nature as a created being? Well, you don't ultimately have to choose, right? What is more true? Is it the metaphysics or the structures, the formal structures of being, the kind of, essences or forms, or the stuff of matter and development and organic and growth? Well, you don't have to choose. So like, what's more true, being or becoming? Like, you could keep doing this, right? Yeah. And so I think, like, that's placing the incarnation of God at the center of the entire faith, which therefore opens up the Trinity and the world's logic, because the Logos is what's incarnate, the Logos of God and world, and of their relation, the logic of the relation is the person of Christ. And so that's where I think the true paradox lies, and it's why Christians will rebel against both sides when it gets lopsided.
Yeah.
If it's too, like, universal, subvert, vault over everything, who cares about all this stuff? It's all, then we start to feel like, well, hold on though, like, my actual relations to my family, my friend, like, this stuff isn't incidental to me.
Right. Well, there's no accountability to my actions. If it's all just kumbaya and believe what you want and we're all going to the same direction, like, and I'm a very hopeful universal Balthazar proponent, but how we treat one another is still actualizing God's creative work. Like, we are his objects of perpetuating his creation.
Yeah.
for its telos.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah, there is no, I mean, because in the end, Colossians 3:11, in the end, Christ is and is in all things. Because your life is hidden with God in Christ, because when Christ appears, you yourself will appear, then actually it means Christ being our end, our common end. The very content of that end is the content we also all contribute.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's very much what I think. There's a truth to Derrida and saying there's a Messiah that never comes.
Right.
I think there's a very Jewish aspect that we've lost in our understanding of faith, that we have a real collaboration with God, that God isn't just going to act without actors.
Exactly.
Which is why like you could say the Messiah, the ultimate reality, hasn't come, is because we're damn stubborn.
Yeah.
Which isn't how we would want to read it.
We normally flip it around. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Just very grateful for your time and your work, and know that it is shaping not just minds but lives as well. Your conversations you have are just very insightful and humble. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Taylor. I really appreciate it.
You have a great rest of the day with your family.